Okay, I've just got 4 charts to show you today. First one I'm going to look at is ASX short. We've covered this the last 2 nights, so I thought I'd continue on with this one. This is the 5-minute chart from Monday onwards. There's the gap on Monday. I'll just quickly go back to the end of day chart. You can see it gapped right up, so I was looking for a short on each of these 3 days as it seemed a little bit overbought. We'll go back to intraday. So Monday it gapped up, failed to make new highs. Tuesday we started to dip, looked like we might fill this gap, didn't quite make it, and then bounced quite solidly in the afternoon. So I was watching this again today. It opened slightly below yesterday's little afternoon high here. So I was watching to see if it could break through the close of the day before. So I'm just going to go to a daily chart now. So as you can see, it opened here, couldn't break through that close, and then it started to roll. So I was fairly aggressive with this one and entered as soon as we broke the low of that little candle there, that pretty much the open candle. So low was 33.44. I was in soon after that break, because that for me looked like a fairly low risk entry. If it breaks through the close of the previous day, I'll be out. Otherwise, we might have another crack at filling that gap. The gap was right down to 32.76. As you can see, it dipped, dumped right down here at the end to 32.90, and I'll just go back to I'll try and drag a little bit more of this in. Get a 2-day chart. Sorry, there. I just wanted to show you, it dipped to 32.90, and interestingly, yesterday the low was 32.90, and it bounced off that fairly solidly. So once it bounced off that low, I was looking to get out. Just go back to a day chart as well. So this became the next resistance right here at 33.21. So watching to see whether that would break on the way back up. I wanted to give it a little bit of space. The market seemed to be coming off today, so I didn't want to cover this short too quickly. It actually tested it about there and failed, and then dripped for the rest of the day. So I'm still in this one overnight. I did cover a few on close just to lighten my exposure, but it hadn't done enough for me to actually cover the trade, so I'm still short a few ASX overnight. So that's the first one. I'm just going to show you 3 speckies that ran really hard today. All the action for me was really in the spec end of the market today, so that's what I'm going to focus on. The first one we'll look at is CMY. There's an end of day chart. Sorry, there's an end of day chart there. That's a 6-month chart. It'd been pretty well range bound between 3 and 6 cents for the last 6 months. On 20th of September, she broke through that and ran pretty hard up to 9. So a 9-cent break was my area of interest, which it broke yesterday, and I didn't actually see that. I didn't set an alert for that. I think that actually happened while I was away on holidays, so I didn't have an alert for this, but it did pop up on scans last night when I was looking at rare earths plays. So I did have it on a watch list and was watching it in the morning. As it looked like it was going to challenge that 10-cent tick change play, which are one of my favorite plays of taking advantage of buying stocks under the 10 cents and then trying to get that instant 5 or 10% profit when it breaks through and hits 10.5, 11, or in this case even higher. So as you can see, it touched 10 cents earlier. I actually got some at 9.8, I think, somewhere just before that 10-cent mark. There was some floating around there. Touched 10 and then failed. Retested the low of the day and held, and then it broke through on the second attempt. I actually sold some at 11. I didn't expect it to go this hard, but I didn't sell my last lot until I think 13 odd. I did Twitter where I sold the last, and I can't remember exactly where, but it just kept powering on. You can see the volume kept growing right through that 10-cent tick change. So I got out there. I was looking for the swing. That there wasn't enough of a swing for me to warrant getting back in. Actually hit right back down to 11 this afternoon. Maybe if that gets back under 10, I might look at having another crack at that. But that was a really nice scalp today that was purely from playing the 10-cent tick change. Next one we're going to look at is AVB, and this is probably the trade of the day for me. We'll go to an end of day chart first. Okay, now I think all this action was last week when I wasn't here as well. So it gapped up on the 21st. from 3 cents, and I gathered that had news. Sorry, the phone's ringing. I think that must have had news to make that gap up, but it's gapped up on the 21st, ran the next day right up to 8.2 or so cents, and then it's dipped throughout the rest of the week. So probably this candle on Monday with a high of 7.5 would be my first area of interest as far as the swing is concerned. We'll just go to an intraday chart, and that's a 5-minute chart. And I'll go best fit, so I get a few days. So that's a 5-minute chart from Friday. So there's right there is that 7.5 high. So that would have been the first area of interest for the swing. Now it actually broke that this morning and had news. I didn't actually get in on that break there. Again, I hadn't set the alert because that happened last week, so I was a bit slack with these alerts being on holidays for the week. Actually ran to 8.1 and then dipped quite nicely on nice low volume. You can see that dip was on very low volume through here, so all the volume was on the initial run, not much volume through the gap here. So I was watching this one for the break of 8.1, and that's where I tweeted it. And sure enough, in the afternoon here at about 12:30, it did break there, and it's been a nice solid trend up all the way up to 10 cents, which is an awesome run. I sold a few along the way, but sold the last one at about 9.5, 9.6 cents, figuring that everybody would be looking for the 10-cent break. And there was quite a large wall at 10.5. I for a while had some in the wall there, but when it looked like it was going to fail back on this candle here, and when it started to dip, I sold a lot. So at this stage it's been the right thing to do, and that it hasn't broken 10.5. Be really interesting to see how this thing kicks on tomorrow. I actually got a tiny parcel back on close just in case it does gap up, but I'll certainly be giving it no room if it fails. So that's AVB, and the last one I want to show you is RXL. Mentioned this a couple of times on the Twitter. I'll show you an end of day chart first. Okay, so that's an end of day 6-month chart, and you can see back here in July it had a nice hard run to over 5 cents. It's been dipping fairly steadily since then. Broke this downtrend line here a week or two ago and has slowly tried to bounce. Now, a couple of key levels of resistance here were probably there at 3.7, less of there at 3.6, which it has broken last week anyway. But this was probably the key res for me there, which was 3.8, which was the res I mentioned on Twitter. So if I go to intraday, the intraday is not very exciting because it wasn't a lot of action in this today, but it did break. Hold on, sorry, we'll go to the day chart. It just crept up all day and eventually touched that 3.8 support and then spiked to 4 on close. And the last thing I'll just show you is the close in RXL on the depth replay. This is from 1605, so it's from 405, and I'll just play it from here. Just want to show you some interesting movement in the depth. We're going at 5 times the normal speed, so it won't take us long to fly through this. I'll go back up to 10 times, I think. A million buyer comes in here right towards, there he is there, a million buyer comes in right towards close. My initial thought was he's probably fake and trying to encourage some buyers to come in. I have some RXL already, but yeah, my initial thought was he's come in to try and encourage some buyers to jump ahead of him, and I was concerned he'd pull it last minute. So it did tempt me to add, and you'll see in a moment a few buyers do jump in ahead of him. What's interesting with this, and it may mean absolutely nothing, but I'll slow it right down now. This is 1610, so we're expecting the market to close any time now. I'm down at 2 times now. We'll go 5 times. You'll notice he actually, at 1610 and 15 seconds, he actually disappears. So I thought, yep, he's pulled right at the last minute, so he's just been there to bring in a few more sellers over the top of him. But interestingly, at 16:10:25, he comes straight back and actually gets taken out. The match out was like 3 seconds later. So I have no idea whether that was intended or what the story behind that was, but just some interesting behaviour to take note of. So I'm hoping that this will kick on tomorrow. Certainly the chart looks like it's a chance. A lot obviously will depend on how US behaves overnight. So that's all I've got for you today. I'm going to try and keep these things a little shorter because I tend to ramble on, as you probably notice. You may wonder why I am looking at a lot of these spec plays when I'm talking about trading CFDs, and I do all my trades through FP Markets. That they're my CFD provider, and their CFD platform has every stock. So all the small caps, all the micros are still tradable through their system, which makes it great that you don't have to go over to your equities account to trade the small stuff. There will be little or no margin on a lot of the micro caps, so they'll be at 100%. But it's really handy to have them all under the one platform, and that's one of the many reasons, I suppose, why I chose FP Markets. But yeah, it makes it really easy to be able to trade under one platform and not have to switch between your equities and your CFDs. Anyway, that's all I've got for you tonight. I'll talk to you tomorrow.